welcome to our next AMA. This is the first one for me in 2022. I did some of the ones around IDO time last quarter, and that was very hectic. But it's nice to be with my colleagues. To my virtual left, I have Simon, our CTO, and to my right, I have Connor, our crypto guy and operations manager at IOEN. So welcome, and here we are.
Thanks, MJ.
Cool.
Thanks, Mike. Good to be here.
Yeah, let's get stuck into it. So I think we'll just start with a few updates of what's happening. There's just so much happening, but I think it's worth going through it so everyone's on the same page. Let's talk a little bit about the staking that we had, and I think it's all good now. Sim, do you want to give us a bit of an update there?
Yeah, sure, MJ. Yeah, I think in the last update we were addressing some issues, but the good news is those issues have now been addressed. There was some front-end funky stuff happening on the website that we've since upgraded, so there's a new version. So if you're a good practice is if you go to the website, do a Shift F5, go full browser reset if you need to, but otherwise it should be fine for staking now. Yeah, so that's good news for the community. The other thing that we're working in the background on a new website front end that'll coincide with actually a mini grid campaign launch that we'll be doing soon, which I'm not sure if I'm allowed to talk about yet, but I just did. So yeah, so that'll bring along with it a new front end for the website, which we're pretty excited about as well. Cool. But all good.
Like you said, we've sort of identified the issues. There's been patches that have been put out, and it looks like that everything's working as it should be. I'm really excited for the new website when it does eventually drop. It should be really cool, and we might even have some extra sort of staking options and stuff like that in the future as we start to figure out some of the more foundational stuff around it, and sort of depart, I guess, from some of the synthetic staking options and try to get into some more real world, real value propositions, which will really propel everything going forward.
Yeah, and just on that front as well. So I've been doing the architecture, and you'll see if you look in our white paper that we have a DAO at ION, and we've been looking at a few of the ones that are available. And it actually fits really nicely with what both Sim and Connor said. So stay tuned. I guess in general, we are sort of a commercial enterprise. So it's very frustrating, especially for our marketers, that we have lots of information, but we have to get the timing right to get approval to say certain things. So there is a lot to say, and there might be a sudden logjam release of all sorts of information. But in the meantime, I can say that we're getting a lot of support now in Discord, some really good, intelligent questions coming through, and Telegram continues to grow. So that's really good. One of the questions we do get, and you can work it out, but there's circulating supply, and that of course has an effect in volume and pricing. So Connor, just want to give us an update on where we're up to there as it vests out.
Yeah, sure. So the current circulating supply for ION is just a tick over 180 million. This is on our regular schedule, and we've got a Medium article attached to this that explains everything. If you just head to our Medium, which you'll be able to find links on the website ion.tech. The supply at the moment is just over 18% of the total supply out of the billion tokens. What that means for the market cap is that we're sitting at just about sort of the 4 million, 5 million point for market cap at the moment. An update with Coin Market Cap, we've recently got more feedback from them on getting it updated and verified with them. It's again a really painful process, but we're working to get that sorted. Essentially, it's just down to accounting issues now. So we've got a big sort of book, accounting book, and we just need to make it balance perfectly for CoinMarketCap to accept it for us. But since this is all programmed into the smart contract, we do know the circulating supply exactly. They just want to see sort of the public accounting version of it in order to verify it with them. So if you do head to CoinMarketCap, you can see that our self-published circulating supply has been updated if you just hover your mouse over the verified information, and we're working to get the verified info updated at the moment.
Excellent. Really good. That's great. Yeah, so things are moving along. So I think one of the main updates we can talk about is the protocol, and that's a word that can be interpreted, but the interpretation really is down to true utility. That means from the ION token all the way down to the microgrids. And as part of that, and the first release of what we're doing with the protocol architecture, we're calling 0.1, because it is the very first thing that we're going to make public. So protocol 0.1 is being worked on right now. We have another announcement that we are sort of 24 hours away from announcing, but we've got this name that if you're in the holochain world, you will recognize him, and he's now on board with us to make that work, and we're over the moon about that. It's excellent. So that should happen pretty quickly. It's related to our work in Monash University, and there's another meeting in 24 hours time where we settle all that. So there's things that we can't quite announce, but if you can read between the lines what I'm saying. The significance of this is that we now become an actual open source community, and there's been people seriously waiting for a couple of years for this to drop. And it's always been, I'll let Sim expand on his vision of how this works, but we have a sense of urgency, and we're mission driven here at ION, and we want to make the whole world available. So we want a few thousand developers helping.
The protocol stuff that's definitely the thing I'm most excited about in the next couple of weeks. I think that's coming into a really nice place, and we're going to launch that as the open up the libraries, and really hoping to sort of engage, in particular, the Discord channel, and get some really robust conversation happening around developing that. We're starting at trying to start at a very open, usable baseline where we can harness, people can apply their own creativity and use it in whatever way they need to in their local context, or whatever service or energy application they wish to use it in, without having to pre-purchase a bunch of tokens, without having to have this high barrier to entry, which certain platforms do. So yeah, super excited about that. We also, as a sort of a parallel activity to the ION brand stuff as well, we're really trying to engage university and schools and students and sort of young learners and young innovators in this space. So we've got a lot of conversations happening with different universities and schools and people interested in bringing together school projects. So yeah, like that's easily the bit I'm most excited about in the next couple of, and we're sort of ahead of schedule, to be honest. We were anticipating that was going to be a little bit further in our journey, starting this the ION process, but we've been able to get ahead of the game here. So yeah, super excited, and we'll have a lot more to say in the socials, and also in the next AMAs coming up.
Excellent. Yeah, and yeah, just really going to look forward to announcing who is going to help us.
Yes, yeah, that's big too.
I should mention that, so what we're basically doing is we're going to open up one repo. At the moment, it's private. There's actually 56 repos that are getting ready to be worked on, and I'm hoping in parallel. So if we get this right, it could all come together pretty quickly if we get the interest. So it's all happening. Yeah, great. Let's just move on now. So there's something that ION's been involved in, and it's called the Neighborhood Battery Initiative here in Australia. It's a government grant sponsored project. And if you've been following renewables, batteries are really interesting. They're going to plummet in price over 2022. And there's some really interesting technology that's being sponsored by people like Bezos and Gates in a number of projects. But here there's a recognition that communities can take advantage of this resource, and it completes the picture in renewables, where we can move away. And in renewables, we talk about a duck curve where there's a lot of demand at certain times of the day, that can smooth it out, and it can actually ultimately go off grid. So there's a need to hook into the national grid, and there's a bit of complexity there, but that solves problems all over the place. I think, again, Sim, you're probably closest to NBI, so I'll put you on the spot if you could just give us an update there.
Yeah, it's a really interesting project that's being delivered by RedGrid, the sort of sister company of ION, as a real use case for the protocol going forward. So it's basically, yeah, in mini grids and communities, the price of batteries and the economics of batteries is coming down, but it's not quite there yet in terms of household batteries. There's some economic challenges there. But what does make sense in a lot of these communities is they put basically a big battery in the town square, and everyone can draw from it. The economics of that seem to be starting to stack up, and they're getting better every day. So there's a bunch of different projects, especially around Australia, like in the hundreds, that are working on in little communities around these community battery projects. And it's really the perfect use case for ION, to be honest, because it involves orchestrating and organising a sort of a disparate group of devices, people and assets. And you need open source to do that, and you need an open protocol to do that. So yeah, RedGrid's, we're working through that with RedGrid there, and we've already hit a couple of them. We're second milestone in, I believe, for that project, which goes for about I think it's 14 months. So that's really progressing and ramping up, and it's going to be a real nice showcase for the protocol once we get it fully mature and established. So we'll share the learnings, a lot of the learnings and stuff from that project. RedGrid will share into the Discord and open source community. So that'll help, I guess, spark people's imagination for the use of the protocol and developments within the protocol. So that's a really important project to watch and just be aware of, I guess.
So Sim, would you say this is sort of the first example of major adoption for ION?
Opportunity-wise, it definitely is. It seems to be it's definitely the movement that's sort of catching fire in Australia, and it's a great one for yeah, it's just the perfect storm for use of the protocol, and there doesn't seem to be any solution in the market that sort of addresses it in the same way that the agent-based solution can. So it's a problem that needs to be solved, and we're sort of at the forefront to solve it.
I think when you say catching fire in perfect storm in Australia, we all kind of cringe a little bit.
Yeah,
we live in extreme weather.
We do, yeah.
ION and RedGrid are at the forefront of so many technologies. They're all coming together, renewables, and in this case, energy as a service. So there is value in energy, and people, you know, at certain times with the battery want to pay for it. So there needs to be a transactional way to make that happen. That's where ION comes in, and that's what the protocol is all about. So yeah, it's going to be, I think it's going to be a lot of spin-offs. And like Sim said, there's at least 200 of these projects around Australia. And we're a big country, but we don't have a huge population base. So there's clearly demand starting up, and there is in other parts of the world, as we know well. So that's really good. Any other comments? Otherwise, I think there's been quite as usual, growing amount of interest in giving us questions. So we'll go to some of those, but if not, I'll just jump into it. So our marketing department's gotten together 3 questions that are pretty good. I'll read out the name because I think that's how this works. So unpronounceable, but he's got the holochain symbol, or she. So atotsm.hc has asked, can I run the tech in a remote village with 50 houses? Great question. I'm going to go to Sim again, and then I'll have some comments.
I know you have an answer to this one as well, MG, but the answer is absolutely yes, it can. Holochain is unique, is a unique platform that sits under our solution, obviously, that with its agent-based nature. It's not a monolithic ledger in the sky. It doesn't need internet server access in a big data center or anywhere like that. The discussion between nodes is local, and consensus happens by gossip between those nodes. So you could have, as long as there's internet connectivity between those 50 homes, they could be completely islanded from the rest of the world, and still perform their function. So that's actually one of the unique value props of the ION solution, and using the holochain foundation to provide it. So
Sim, sorry, how does the token fit into that? So if you were to run that remote village sort of protocol version, how does the ION token fit into that?
So the ION token fits in from this concept of a reserve account, which is that's the pool that all the 50 homes draw from. The 50 homes in particular participate in a mutual credit accounting system locally. So the credits and debits between those 50 nodes is all captured within their own ledger, and within a DHT if it needs to be as well. So the reserve account basically is the exchange engine that exposes it to the ION token, meta token, I guess.
I think also worth noting, and we actually don't talk about it too much, but in a remote village, to me, that means, okay, there's going to be connectivity problems from time to time to the internet. An interesting characteristic of Holochain, because it's local, is a node can go offline for a while, and then when it comes back, it reconciles with its neighbors. So that's a pretty unique property, and that was something we explored over the last year or two in the university experiments that we were doing. Yeah, great. So yeah, it's so just to expand on what Connor asked, that yeah, there's this reserve account that sits on top of every microgrid, and that's how the funding all happens. So that's really good. Okay, next question is from Chang, and it's Chang 05678927. That's the username. What are the main features that distinguish ION from other projects, and what competitive advantages does it have? I'll start on this one because, again, this was a frequently asked question last year in our AMAs. So you've probably heard it a little bit there, that we figure Holochain is where it's at, and its main advantage in that we have this two-tiered architecture is that it's local, and just for the reasons we said, that it can be remote, it can have its own economy, community credit system, and then it feeds back up to a blockchain, which as we know, is worldwide. So it's a really nice fit. We've got a DAO that we're evaluating and planning at the top end that'll hook into the micro DAOs that are underneath. And it's been a few months, but we really encourage everyone to go to ion.tech and hit the blog button, because there's lots of articles that explain some of these unique features. And I think we probably have another one which tries to summarize all of these things. Anything to add, Sim, on that?
Yeah, I think the big advantages come at a local level using the agent-based solution, and that's exactly what Mike said. I think they're sort of headline claims, but they're supported by the tech, which is that it's a more scalable technology under an agent-based solution. It's much more customizable than than a sort of a global ledger solution or or probably a server-based solution as well. Again, the offline capability is another really important feature, being agent-based, that's fairly unique. It's really configurable. So again, like it's kind of a meta solution to a blockchain ledger. So you can configure many different types of ledgers, many different types of conversations between agents and applications. So it's really a platform for creativity amongst developers. It's evolvable and would argue it's much better security and privacy than anything out there as well, given that you can quarantine conversations, you can you can quarantine, you can make control security a lot more finely than other solutions. So yeah, a lot of benefits. Yes.
Let's be honest. I think the main advantages that we have is us. We're the smartest people.
We're the smartest people on this.
We'll be able to solve this. We can take it on. That's the main advantage. The main advantage is we're here and we're going to be doing it.
There you go.
You're in the spaceship, Connor. So
yeah, you're in the
exactly. No one's driving.
I'm in the volcano.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Okay, and last question from Rick, who doesn't go by Rick, he goes by @Gusto El Sabor. Do you consider that the IONites, which is the new name of our community, play a fundamental role in your project? And we all know the answer to that one. So you've heard us talk about unleashing the world, and there's, again, we look at Holochain, they're a small but incredibly loyal community. And then we've talked to other sort of mainstream blockchains, and I won't mention their name, but one said 2 million people wake up every morning and think about us. So we want the loyalty that Holochain provides, and we want the reach that this other one does. And it's not just in developers, coders, there's also thinkers, and you get that again in the circles that Sim and I especially have been traveling in. And Connor's brings a different spin to it. So it's like a really good synthesis of all our experiences into it. Connor, do you want to add on to that?
Yeah, I just think that because this is an open source project fundamentally, and because ION itself is developing a protocol that should and be deployed in as many places as possible and in many different ways as possible, with hopefully different versions of it. And the whole point is that we need the community to help develop this. That's why it's not that the fundamental role is the progress of ION in getting these jobs done, is the use of the community, is the ability for the community to pitch in and give us a hand. We're a small team and we're doing this and to open source it. And to open source it means that we're running it as a non-profit. And that's why we've got RedGrid as a sister company, because they do projects, they're for profit. But ION itself, at its core, is a non-profit, and we're just here to try to change the way that energy is transacted.
We see ourselves as every person's energy, and energy is not really a concept you think too much about, but once you get into it, it changes everything. It gives kids in a Bangladeshi village ability to study at night with lighting. It gives desalination plants. Everything is based on energy. And we're in this fight to the death with oil and gas, and we're winning. I think we're in this transitory period. So we want to hasten that along for very good reasons, as we know from what was COP26 back in November. That was the UN thing. And yeah, there's a lot of reasons why we're here. So
I reckon also, Mike, like I would say absolutely 100%. It is fundamental, because the other thing that we've found in the last 3 years, trying to establish businesses in this area of renewable energy, is grids are, every grid has its own personality, and it's based on the local needs and regulations and jurisdiction and applications and that sort of stuff. So one size fits all solution is not just does not work in this space, and we've lived that over the last 3 years of being in this industry. So that's what IOEN is all about. Is about trying to engage you, our community, and contrary to what Connor said, we're probably not the smartest people in the room. We need the local imaginations to apply this tech, and that is success to us. If that person in Bangladesh can find the use case that turns the lights on for that kid to study at night, that's the definition of success for our team. So
well said.
If we can help bring a preppers community together and create a commune, that's another sort of version that we could get it. We're trying to reach the preppers as well. trying to reach from.
Well, that's a market segment I hadn't thought about. Yeah, okay.
Why not? An untapped market.
Okay then. Yeah. One thing, getting back to it, is that so Sim was the guy who coined Internet of Energy as a phrase, and he was thinking back to, again, we're on a call and some people have negative connotations of the internet because it's controlled by Web 2 people and Cisco. But if you go back a bit further to the 80s and 90s, there was this, or it was just a free-for-all, and it actually won out because there was this other group called the OSI out of Europe, which Sim and I both know about. But it was the spirit of just saying, here's something, if you want it, do it. If not, okay, well, I'll do it or I won't or whatever, right? And it's just this completely organic growth of what we now know as the internet. So we want to do a similar thing with energy and just level the playing field for everyone out there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so those are the 3 questions. Gave you a bit of an update. There's some exciting stuff. That's all we can keep telling you is keep tuning into these sort of recordings, but especially Discord's starting to become quite lively. There's some really intelligent questions. We've always had Telegram, and those are growing. Twitter, of course, social media is the way we reach people. And stay tuned and get involved, especially when the time comes that we can help you get more involved.
And one last thing, if you have the token, make sure you hold on to it because big things are coming.
Yeah, I read a really good quote. It was that when there's a bull market, that's when the building happens. And that's a pretty good saying, I thought.
You mean a bear? Do you mean?
I'm going to redo that. I heard this really good. Haley, cut this out.
We're building both times.
I heard this really good saying that when there's a bear market, that's when the building happens.
Okay.
Anything else, Sim?
No. It's great to chat with everyone. Yeah.
Okay, back to it.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. See you guys.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.